Hello everyone, welcome. This is the Facebook Live Monday class in our Moon Tribe. I'm wondering how you're doing as we move into the waxing cycle now, and we have literally just passed the new moon in Mula Nakshatra. So I want to unpack that a little bit today in this class and also give you a bit of a rundown for what to expect for the week ahead. We're also going to set an intention through my goddess deck, which is my favorite oracle deck. And it is really helpful for just setting intentions and setting the tone for our week and our days. Hi Sue, welcome. So, you know you can type into the chat and share your questions, your needs with me. And I also have a Jyotish class coming up that I will share with you, a Jyotish immersion that's coming in January. You know you can always reach out to me for a free coaching session, so know that that resource is there as well. And I taught a class this weekend for the new moon, and we talked a lot about the ancestors. And I just want to share a little bit about what we talked about in class, what we worked with. The intention of the class was to deepen your understanding of spirit and how spirit shows up in your Jyotish chart, as well as how to feed the ancestors, how to actually connect more fully with them. That link, that class link, is available on my website now. I will make a note here to post that link as well, so you'll have access to that. And so some of what we talked about was the ways to feed the ancestors and what it looks like, what it feels like to build a relationship with spirit and the ancestors. So I highly recommend listening to that class if you need those resources and insights. Grief rituals and spending time in nature and building an altar, having an altar in your home that is dedicated to the ancestors are also really helpful ways to connect. And I wrote an article last week that's also on my blog, and then taught my class. Hi Nicole, welcome. And so those resources are up now, ready for you to take a peek. So that's a theme that we're working with right now, in fact. So this new moon in Mula Nakshatra is about restructuring, tilling the soil, pulling up the weeds, preparing the garden bed, so to speak, for preparing the soil for what's to come. But we're in that phase right now of the pulling up of the weeds, the restructuring. So it's a very vulnerable time. It's a very transitional time. It's a time of not necessarily grounded, but it's potential. So this is about potential. So I want to encourage you to really set the intentions for the coming cycle and really for the coming year right now. Whenever we're in a transitional phase, a release process, this is an opportunity to actually create space for something new. So what are you creating space for? What is it that you really want and need and desire? We have to make space for it. So the reality is that we can't receive if there isn't space or room to receive. And so, ask yourself why you might not have the room yet, or why you don't yet have what you've been looking for, what you've been needing, and what is actually clogging the channels, what is actually in the way of you receiving what you need. And this is a time to start clearing and releasing the parts of you that are stuck, that are malnourished, that are in the shadow, literally. So Moon has just crossed Saturn and Sun. All three planets right now are in Mula Nakshatra in Sagittarius. This is a Gandanta. It's a junction point. It's there are 3 Gandantas in the zodiac, the sidereal zodiac. And these junction points are places where we sort of uproot the psycho-emotional body level, where we attend to and release parts of ourselves that are really in the shadow, but particularly on the psycho-emotional level. Now, with Saturn in Sagittarius in this constellation right now as well, this is actually also physical body. So the physical body is being restructured. And this is kind of the theme for the year to come. Support, structure, stability, all of this is getting reworked. Letting go of the old ways and the old structures and finding new structures. And I just want to encourage you to really mindfully be creating that new structure for yourself. Is it more nourishing? Is it more supportive? Is it more of what you need? Ask for what you need. Get what you need. And allow yourself to receive what you need, especially on the level of support. Today, that is going to be a theme as Moon crosses through this tender Gandanta. And I don't know if you can feel it, but I actually, whenever we go through a new moon or a full moon, there is literally sort of a leap to some new cycle. And I am personally feeling this leap into something new and the release of the old. And even this last week, a lot of grief showing up, releasing things that weren't really nourishing me. And now it feels like there's a little more space for what I do want and need, a little more hope and possibility. So wherever you are in that process, just keep supporting the release. Just keep supporting the release process. And again, what am I making space for? What am I making space for? And this is physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even mentally. This is happening on all levels of the body right now. So we're in the very acute uprooting. You may even feel emotion really moving heavily today. Later, let's see, around late evening today, Moon will shift into the second constellation of Sagittarius, which is Purvashada. And this has more to do with the water goddess Apis. And so, hi, it looks like a lot of people have been joining us, and I don't know who you are. So type into the chat, and I'll check in here and see who's with us. Welcome. So as Moon moves into the goddess Apis's domain, We have more fluidity, more water moving. This is when we start to see tears beginning to flow. Maybe there's been a lot of anger or frustration or even the chaos, and then movement, water, fluidity comes next. It's also how we water the garden, the seeds that we're planting. And then the third phase is when Uttar Ashada, the latter half of the Ashada constellation, receives the more of the sun, the life-giving qualities. And that's when we start to see things root a little bit. So Nicole's saying, yes, she's had tears and frustration since yesterday. And I just want to remind you of how these cycles work so that when you're attending to your emotional body, things start to make a little more sense. So you'll often hear me say riding the waves and then coming back to ground and tracking those cycles. And this is really important in terms of not only allowing the emotional body to flow, but also trusting the process, really understanding your own cycles and rhythms, and building a sense of inner resiliency and trust. So, oh, right, this is the anger, frustration part of the cycle. The next portion, I usually grieve and get sad and then start crying, and there's release. And then, I find my ground, I come back to body, and things start to feel a little more calm. So that's one way a cycle can happen. And we all have our own ways, but I want to encourage you to really be tracking your own cycles and your waves. These are your rhythms. And it's not you being crazy. It's you surfing your waves. It's you having waves, And when we resist these emotional waves, they actually intensify. So a big part of the healing journey is just understanding and leaning closer to allowing the cycles and the rhythms that naturally happen for you. Okay? So don't resist. Allow. Lean closer to. Honor. So when we track the moon, it gives us a little bit more clarity around the feeling level and what to expect. It doesn't explain everything, but it can sort of give a reason for why we might be feeling the way that we're feeling. An interesting side note is that traditionally in the Vedic tradition, tracking the constellations and where the moon specifically was in each constellation or nakshatra was really about predicting the weather. So what I like to remind my clients is that what we're doing is we're tracking the internal landscape, the inner weather. And so understanding the constellations and even in your chart, what your terrain is, so to speak, can give you a little bit more insight into these waves and how you actually, how your landscape actually looks. The ocean Pacific West Coast landscape responds very differently than Rocky Mountain, high altitude, very dry, rocky, arid climate, very different than Antarctica tundra. It's a different landscape. So your Prakrit, your innate makeup, the way that nature's rhythms create you is very different from anyone else. So when we understand our Jyotish chart, we can understand what kind of landscape we are, what kind of terrain we are, and what our weather patterns are. So that's just kind of one way to look at it. And it's a way of explaining why we all respond differently. But remember that the moon is your emotional body. So she's the water, she's the rhythm, she's the flow. And when we track her wisdom, we can see how the emotional body, the tides, the pools within, the waters within, will be reacting. Okay? So, so it looks like a lot of you are joining right now. Thank you for joining live. And let's dive in. So as I said, moon is in Mula Nakshatra right now through the rest of the day. Be mindful of chaos. Be mindful of sabotage, disruptions, getting off course. This is a theme for the coming year. Be mindful of your Dharma. So some are moving closer to Dharma, some are moving further away. I want to encourage all of us to continue to hold the question, does this action move me closer to my Dharma and my purpose, or does it move me further away? Hold that question. It's really important in the coming months. So Moon has crossed over the tight conjunction of Sun and Saturn. We're feeling that compression right now, especially physically. Some are feeling it more spiritually. It's especially challenging for the masculine right now. So if you have a strong masculine within, it's being deconstructed. And even on the macrocosmic level, look around. The masculine is being deconstructed in a big way right now. And remember that Saturn wants integrity. That's his MO. He wants that integrity that comes with time. You know, an old man who's learned through the test of time what is responsible. That's Saturn. And he's moving through Mula Nakshatra right now, and all that is not in right relationship with integrity is being deconstructed. And because Sun is now conjuncting Saturn and in Mula Nakshatra, the masculine is being deconstructed in a big way. We're feeling those emotions right now. Tomorrow we will see this fluidity and flow increase. There'll be more movement in the emotional body level. Spend time in water, around water. Let water be a resource for you. And on Wednesday, Moon shifts to the outer edge of Sagittarius and into Uttara Ashada, ruled by the Sun. And so there's still a masculine quality here, but this is where we start to see integrity really make sense. So look for some sort of resolution, some sort of new awareness showing up by Wednesday. On Thursday, Moon has already shifted into Capricorn, joining Ketu here. And it's important to note that we have been in this cycle of Kala Sarpa. A Kala Sarpa Yoga is when all planets are encased in the jaws of Rahu and Ketu. So remember, Rahu is head of the serpent, Ketu's tail of the serpent. Rahu is what's driving us, compelling us towards our karma, towards this incarnation. I mean, we wouldn't be here without Rahu. Rahu and Ketu really express our karmas. Okay, so this Rahu Ketu dynamic, they're always 7 houses away from each other. They exhibit the attraction repulsion dynamic. What I'm wanting to move towards, even if it's unconsciously. And Ketu 7 houses away, which is cutting the ties that bind us to the material world, and the ties that are keeping us in the cycle, whatever this karmic cycle is. And right now, Rahu is transiting Cancer, and Ketu is transiting Capricorn. Hi, Michelle, welcome. And all planets are enclosed between Rahu and Ketu. And this sets up a dynamic where all the planets are experiencing some level of touch or gaze or pressure from the Kala Sarpa dynamic. So if you look at your chart, you'll notice, Rahu in Cancer, number 4, Ketu in Capricorn, number 10. All the planets transiting currently are in between Cancer and Capricorn. And Moon is creating the Kala Sarpa. As soon as Moon moves out of Capricorn, she breaks the Kala Sarpa, because then not all planets are in between the pressure of the dragon or the snake. And when we have Kala Sarpa yogas, this happens obviously natally as well. People who are under heavy Kala Sarpa tend to have extreme highs and lows. And that's what we're seeing right now, is extreme highs and lows because of this dynamic. And you'll notice this especially in your emotional body as well. So that might be where the highs and the lows are being experienced. Other people are having life experiences that seem to be high and low. It's like good news, bad news, good news, bad news. Good things are happening, bad things are happening. So the thing to remember about Kala Sarpa yoga is that this is a time of experiencing extremes so that you can find ultimate balance, so that you can find more integration between opposition, between polarities, between opposing forces. So because this Kala Sarpa is being created by Moon right now being enclosed, and then when Moon leaves this 7 house sort of dynamic, the process is also very much about highs and lows emotionally, and how to be integrating these highs and lows emotionally. Now, that's a pretty general assessment because it's going to impact everyone differently. But you may be noticing that touching your finances are very much connected to the emotional body. You may be experiencing this in your relationships, which is just a mirror of the other self. You may be noticing this in your health, which is another mirror of, how safe, supported, and stable do I feel. So there are a lot of different ways that this can be showing up. But ultimately, we're going for integration and balance. Nicole's wondering, how do you know if you have Kala Sarpa yoga natally? So you would look in your natal chart, and you would see if all planets are enclosed within Rahu and Ketu. That would be a Kala Sarpa. Okay, so there are a few different ways to look at this. So if everything is moving towards Ketu, remember Rahu and Ketu move in opposition of the other planets. Okay, so all the planets move to the left, and Rahu and Ketu move to the right, because they're always moving in opposition. They're always retrograde. So you think of it like all planets are moving out of the tail of Ketu, which means something's going to be cut, something's going to be snipped, something's going to be released. And that's how we find balance. Now, if it's on the opposite end of the spectrum and everything is moving towards Rahu, then we have a different dynamic. And that's where things get more extreme. But right now, what I'm seeing is it's more of a release cycle. This process is about releasing and letting go. Everything's dropping out of the tail of Ketu. And every time the moon crosses Ketu, and we're going to see this happen every month, okay? So until Sun or Venus breaks this officially. And let me get you a date for that. And some people say, it's as soon as a planet crosses to the outer edge of Ketu, but I have seen it to not really be true, that the Kala Sarpa doesn't really break until a planet moves to the next sign, which is Aquarius. So Venus will break the Kala Sarpa in February, on February 6th. Okay, so we still have another month and a half of this Kala Sarpa, and then Venus will drop out of the tail of Ketu and into Aquarius February 6th, and then we'll release this. But every planet that drops through the tail of Ketu will go through its own cutting and release process. So even though the Kala Sarpa will essentially be over, understand that everything that touches Ketu gets restructured, and there's a release that happens. So we'll be going through this in the coming months cyclically. First Venus, then Sun, then Mercury, then Mars, and like this. And this is the process that's taking place for the coming year. All of these planets, these parts of our own being, are being deconstructed and restructured. Okay? So let's get back to this week. I think we were talking about Moon in Capricorn. So, like I said, by Thursday, Moon shifts into Capricorn. And there is a conjunction of Moon and Ketu at that point. So Moon is going to be in this release process, touching Ketu, and then in the coming days falling out the tail of Ketu. And I want to encourage you to be looking at your chart from this perspective. So noticing where Capricorn lives in your chart and what are those themes? What are the house themes? Okay? That's what's getting deconstructed and restructured in your chart. So let's pause here. What do you notice? You can type into the chat and let me know what are the themes in your chart that are there. Where does Capricorn sit? Where is K2 transiting? Where are you noticing the moon moving through your chart right now? And what's being released and restructured? Mm-hmm. So Chandi's just sharing messages here about the cycle and reminding us of the big emotional purge taking place and what that means for the feminine. She says so that the feminine can take its rightful place. And boy, does this little nugget know what that means. A very strong little woman. All right, looks like some questions have come in. Okay, good. So Nicole's saying Capricorn 5th house. So what's getting restructured right now, Nicole? Be really mindful of power and that 5th house theme, solar plexus. So the masculine, sense of self, intuition, keeping the gut really clear, and being mindful of digestion, making space for more power, essentially, and being in right relationship with that. Ted, hi Ted, welcome. So Capricorn is 7th house, K2's there via transit, great. So you're working with themes around relationships, restructuring, releasing, and deconstructing even relationships. And understanding that the emotions that are moving through you right now are necessary to create space for the relationships that you need for more nourishment. Sue, hi Sue. Capricorn in my 8th house, Rahu's in the 8th in my natal. So you've got that conjunction of Rahu and K2 happening in the 8th house, the hidden realms, the unconscious, the unseen. This is a process of really uprooting the unconscious shadows. And you're going to find that through the emotional body. So if the emotional body is not feeling nourished or supported, the quote-unquote challenging emotions, that's where you're going to find the shadow work, the pieces of you that are malnourished. And that 2nd, 8th house axis is really all about nourishment. Okay, any other questions? Let's move on. Okay, so moon on Friday shifts to Shravana Nakshatra. This has more to do with Dharma. So remember, we're always moving towards Dharma. We're moving into right relationship with Dharma. And we're clearing space for Dharma. Dharma is your deepest nourishment, your soul's nourishment. So on any level, if it's moving us into relationship with deep nourishment, it's dharmic. And Shravana expresses that connection to Dharma, right action, moving into alignment with the qualities of nourishment and therefore Dharma. Hi Carol, welcome. Okay, on Saturday, Moon shifts into Dhanishta Nakshatra. This is where the Jyotish hang out, and this is light. So this part of the chart brings resources for being seen, being recognized, brings light so that you can be seen and recognized. And it's also a reminder to take action steps that allow you to be seen, to be recognized, to be acknowledged. So very Mars quality in that constellation. And by Sunday, Moon has shifted into Aquarius. So we have some duality that sets in. Sunday is one of those days as Moon shifts into Satabisha. It is a day where you really want to be mindful of your health. Keep things very simple. The critic can be high, so there may be some shadow, some resistance, some challenges around seeing very clearly what needs to change and what's not working. And at the same time being really good about routine and digestion and staying on, I'll say, an Ayurvedic diet. You know, that's one of those days. Satabisha days are have some khichdi. You know, if you fudge the rest of the week, have khichdi when Moon goes through Satabisha. Because it is said that when the Moon goes through this constellation, deep-rooted imbalances can take place if we're not in right relationship with nature and her laws. Okay, so by Monday, Moon is at the edge of Aquarius and has then moved into Purvabhadra, and this constellation is about deep integration and balance. So we'll talk about that next week in class. I'm just going to pause here and see if anyone has questions. It looks like Michelle... Yes, Capricorn is the 6th house for you. This is where K2 is transiting. So 6th house is lower gut. This is very much about clearing and releasing. Think about the process of digestion. So 2nd house is where we actually eat the food, and then it moves all the way through the physical body, upper gut, lower gut, and then 8th house, release, elimination. So 6th house is where we're really assimilating the nutrients, assimilating the nutritional value, and letting go, digesting and then letting go what isn't really feeding us. And so this is part of what you're working on right now. And remember, that's happening on an emotional body level as well, because Moon is moving through this process. By Saturday, Moon has shifted to Aquarius and the Kala Sarpa breaks. So the coming 2 weeks of the waxing cycle, we're on the wax, the tides get higher, they get stronger, it's high tide, we're moving towards high tide, and so even though Kala Sarpa has ended technically, there's still sort of this momentum that's building, and I want to encourage you to be looking for those themes and holding these questions. You know, what am I moving towards, and what am I moving away from? So what am I moving towards? What am I moving away from? And another way to say that is literally, what is nourishing me and what is not nourishing me? Get radical in the release. Because the more you hang on to things that aren't really nourishing you, you don't have space. You literally don't have space for what you do need. So we're in the kind of the build up towards that release. Midweek to late week, we're going to see that intensity, emotional body intensity, start to build. And then this weekend, we'll have the release. And if you don't have time this week to attend to your emotional body, your grief, the release process, pausing and checking, allowing the tears, allowing the rage to come out in cathartic ways, make sure you do that this weekend. Make sure you take time to be with your emotional body and even check in. When we're too busy to even notice what's going on, we lose our ability to digest, to assimilate, to integrate, and to release. So I'm gonna pull a card from my goddess deck. This is one of my favorite oracle decks, and Chandi has made her mark on this deck. You see this card? It's taped together. She often draws cards for me, believe it or not. Sometimes she's not very gentle about it. So I've shuffled the deck, I've moved things around, and the card that I draw is really just setting the intention for our week ahead and sharing an important reminder with us. Important reminder. So, Solace, and she's reminding us to spend time near bodies of water and recharge your batteries. So this is also a reminder to attend to your emotional body, your inner waters. So we've been talking about that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to do a poll for anyone here on the call. So all you have to do, hi C, welcome. All you have to do is holler at me, type into the chat, let me know if you want me to pull a card from my deck for a personal intention for the week. And I'm happy to do that for you. And I'm just going to check to see if there are any more questions. Gotcha, Michelle. I will definitely do that. And Nicole, got it. So just a reminder that I will be posting a link to the new moon class. So if you missed that on Saturday, we talked about the ancestors. We talked about ways to connect with the ancestors. We went through the Jyotish chart in more detail about spiritual links. So you'll want to take a look at that. And also a reminder that today is the last day to join my Jyotish immersion in January at half price. And we're going to be looking at some really important parts of the Jyotish chart, including clarifying your Dharma and really understanding the sensitivity points which correlate to your gifts, and also trauma points in the chart, you know, where trauma is actually living in your body. And remember, these are the places you need to look at in terms of reconnecting. So wherever you're disconnected, that's where you need to attend to in order to connect. And for the first 10 people that sign up, you will receive a free coaching session with me. I have 3 spots left, so sign up today for half price and also to get in on one of those coaching sessions. Everyone who signs up will get a copy of their Jyotish chart as well as Jyotish Basics resources, so you can study your chart before we meet in January, and then we can dive deeply in that 3-hour immersion. So I will post a link to that class above this video when we're done, and you can sign up today at half price. Price goes up at midnight, just so you know. Okay, looks like I have some hands up. Great. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. Hi, Lucy. Great. Okay, so let's start with you, Michelle. This card is for you. Know that I've shuffled this deck, okay? And the intention here is always to give us a gentle reminder of what we need. And this is about setting an intention for your week ahead. I just do a blind pull. Bridget, Celtic, very powerful Celtic goddess. Don't back down, she says. Stand up for what you believe is right. So this one's for you, Michelle. This is one of my favorites. Very powerful Celtic goddess. Okay, looks like Nicole is next. Nicole, this one's for you. Irene. And her message is peace. And she says there's no need to worry, as everything is working out beautifully. That one's for you, Nicole. Great. Okay, Lucy. Okay. This one's for you, Lucy. Isolt. Undying love. The love you have shared is eternal, regardless of the situation. I'm wondering if you're working with some grief right now, Lucy. Does this make sense to you? Oh, that's interesting, Nicole. Irene, your paternal grandmother's name. Might want to talk to her. See if she can support you in this intention. Great, Lucy. Glad that makes sense for you. Okay, who's next? Great, Michelle. Absolutely. This one's for you. Okay. Aracura. Blooming. And her message is, you are just getting started. So have patience with yourself and the process, and do not give up. Hope that makes sense for you. It's certainly a time of blossoming. And if anything, that is a really important reminder for what we're doing right now in this clearing and purging process in order to make space for what we truly need and what truly nourishes us. So I have time for one more pull. Let me see if there's anyone else here who wants a card. Okay, so this is going to be, okay, great, see, gotcha. And then we'll do one for all those who are hidden and being quiet. Okay, so this is for C. C, this is your card. Isis, past life. This situation involves your past life memories. Sounds like you're confronting some things right now that are from the past. So do some cleanup. Okay, so I'm going to do one card for all of those who are here but are just hiding. And for those who aren't here and they don't even know they want a card. So Hathor. Receptivity. Allow yourself to receive. This will increase your intuition, your energy, and your ability to give to others. So again, we're creating space. We're clearing, we're releasing, we're making room for what truly nourishes us. And this is the card of the week. Remember to attend to your bodies of water, your inner bodies, and spend time in water, spend time in nature, near water and with water. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week ahead. Use the resources that I share for some support this week. The ancestral link, the new moon class, I will share in this video, as well as a link to the Jyotish immersion for those of you who want to take a deep dive into your chart. You know you can always sign up for a free Dharma coaching session with me. I'm booking for next week already, and I still have a couple spots open. So I'll see you in session, or I'll see you in class. And every Monday at noon Mountain Time, I do this Monday morning Moon Tribe class, and I'll see you here next week. Wait, is next week Christmas? Oh, next week is Christmas. I'll probably do it anyway. I'm not a big Christmas person. If you're around, come hang out with me. All right. Bye, guys.